So let a few relatives know that will be going on. They can chime in. Wolf, brother, we're live.
Oh,
Thank you so much for joining me.
it's an honor. Thank you.
I want to honor you and thank you for your medicine in my life and the lives of many as a wonderful guide and teacher. I know you don't like labels, but you're a phenomenal body worker. And when I met you 15 years ago, you were already a breath worker. And so I felt there's a needed conversation and an offering to our human relatives to talk about ceremony, how to properly prepare and integrate in a good way, as more and more people are leaning into heightened experiences and needing to integrate our daily stress. And yeah, would you like to open with a prayer or a song, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. Put a little smudge on here, clean the space.
Thank you.
The wind is blowing a little bit here. Um, nice breeze, nice cool breeze on this hot summer day.
You're home
Um,
in Santa Fe.
yeah, I want to sing a song to to invoke the our relative, the sun, and our relative, the morning star, and our relative, the moon. And the light of these beings, because only light beings can live in the light, invoking the spirit of these beings and the light that they carry for us. So I ask you to sit back and close your eyes and open your heart and your mind. Um, think about those ones that you want to call in, your ancestors, guides, whoever it is that you like to talk to, when you talk to the unseen that way, but it's also the seen, right? Because the sun and the moon and the morning star is not just it's physical and spirit at the same time, as all things are. Oh, Mata, yes. Hola le miecha e wa o Elohai. Hola le miecha e wa o Elohai. Hola le miecha wa Elohai. Ampoicha pigdi iochanteae, ochichia pigtaicha ewa elo ai. Hola le miecha waelo waelo ai. Hola le miecha e waelo ai. Hola le miecha e wa elo ai ho. Hola le miecha wa witi iochatea Ochi chia pictacha ewa elo ai Ola le miecha waelo waelo ai Ola le mieta e wa elo ai. Ola le mieta e wa elo ai. Olale miecha waelo waelo ai han we io chatea O chi chi a pictacha e wa o elo ai o o la le miecha wa elo wa elo ai o mitakuyasu
Oh,
Patula Wakantanka, Unchimaka, grandfathers, grandmothers, ancestors, guides, everyone, you know, viewing this gathering, this get together, this conversation, this we're opening ourselves up, grandfathers, grandmothers, opening ourselves up, Great Spirit, Unchimaka, for you to share, for you to help us, um, live in a good way, to approach life, you know, through a new perspective, a broadened, more expanded, more aware, more awake, more conscious, more intentional way of being here on Mother Earth. Uh, Give thanks to the, the Lakota Nation and the indigenous peoples across Turtle Island and around the world, the wisdom keepers and the carriers of the medicine and the knowledge of the medicine ways, seen and unseen, that we are really calling forth in such big ways in the knowing that, you know, these these traditions, these life ways, these medicines, mm, mm, nurture us, feed us in ways that will help us move through all that is coming with the awareness of the miraculous and the blessedness of this time that we are currently in. Ho,
oh, HKCM. Thank you, brother.
ho,
Hmm. Something live in me I want to speak to as I love to listen to you pray is how many of us have been disenchanted by the church, by organized religion, from the power of prayer. And I feel like one of the things that's burning in you to share about this conversation is the importance and the power of prayer and intention. And I would love for you to riff on that and share that your reminder of an example of listening and feeling you pray, especially in person, has taught me that prayer is a way to communicate with life. And that when we communicate, especially out loud, it's astounding what shows up and comes back, and how our prayer and intention gives us orientation and direction into an experience like a ceremony, whether it
Mm.
be plant medicine or these beautiful ceremonies that you offer, like Hamblecha, the Vision Quest, and this and sweat lodge, etc. And yeah, please play on that with your words of experience of the importance of preparing in a good way for. I noticed some people going in as a bit of a crash course and not having proper preparation before some of these big experiences, and to have some of your wisdom guiding us on some of the acts of your daily rhythms for the first, the week or two. When I journeyed with you on Hamblecha, it was 30 days of proper preparation. So first, can we just speak to about preparation?
Well, I mean, let's speak about intention because that has to be first. You know, some of my elders have said, whenever we go to ceremony, know that we will not be the same when we leave. We will be changed whenever we go to any ceremony, pipe ceremony, big or small, pipe ceremony, sweat lodge, vision quest, inipi, we say instead of sweat lodge, humblegia, vision quest, sundance, um, and as you brought up, plant medicine. No matter what the ceremony is, we come to ceremony to have an effect, to change something. And the spirit, we call them in, they show up wanting to know what is in our heart, what is our desire, how can the spirit help us. And so often people come thinking they want help from the spirit, and sometimes just showing up, sometimes just a blank slate, like, what is the spirit going to bring me? When the spirit is showing up saying, what are you going to bring? What is it you want? The
Mm-hmm.
spirits want to help us, right? And but they want to know what we're calling in, what we're wanting help with. So, my elders will always say, you always show up with clear intention, big or small. And that may be for yourself, it might be for a loved one or some loved ones, it may be for, whatever it may be for. Maybe you're showing up to this ceremony to pray for healing for your relative that's, in the hospital or battling depression or addiction or whatever it may be. We come with clarity of knowing what the prayer is, intention being another word for prayer, so that when we show up, we're prepared. We know what we want to talk to them about. Great Spirit, Unchi Maka, Wakan Chakra, Great Spirit, Unchi Maka, Grandmother Earth, ancestors, guides. And when we show up that way, we're giving the spirits something to work with. And again, it doesn't matter what kind of ceremony it is. We're giving them something to work with. And we're also creating a space for something really tangible to show up. I don't think it's never about good or bad or right or wrong. I mean, it's you just show up to ceremony, you don't really have a clear intention, you're just showing up to see what happens. Well, beautiful. I mean, good. But when you show up with clear intention, that's more potent, it's more powerful.
mm, mm,
And you never know what's going to show up if show up with a blank slate. You never know what's going to happen. You may not like the result, but it's always for the better,
mm, mm.
always for the better.
One thing I noticed, brother, when we have a really powerful prayer, when I welcome people into prayer and intention before breath ceremony, and there's a prayer like unconditional love. Often what happens in the experience is quite the opposite, because that's what needs to clear out of the way in order to experience more unconditional love.
Well, that's what's going to happen, right? Um, um, the Spirit is going to bathe us in that which we are calling for, and the ways in which we get in the way of that automatically rise to the surface.
Uh-huh. Our own
So
resistance.
we get to see ourselves and the ways in which we get in our own way.
Mm,
And that's part of the prayer. That's the part of the beauty of it all, is to really witness, oh, okay, wow, I'm feeling this divine, pure, unconditional love, light, and wow, look at all these habits and patterns that that aren't serving this intention, that aren't serving what I'm calling in. And so it's a big part of the beauty.
mm,
Yeah, I
mm,
want more love in my heart, in my heart and in my life. I want more love in my relationships. Oh, I'm calling this in, and oh, look how I get in the way of that.
mm, mm,
So this is great because the awareness is necessary. We can't change something we can't see. You can't you can't heal something unless you can speak to that which needs or wants healing.
mm, mm,
So I often in my invocation and my opening prayer, I often say things, say say you know, grandfathers, grandmothers, help me to see more clearly the seen and the unseen. Help me to see that which I cannot see, which includes the ability to see spirit, but also the places within myself that I haven't seen yet. And that's not just light, it's also shadow. I want to see the gifts that I think we all want to see. Uh,
mm, mm.
Everything we carry. People tend in this society tend to walk around every day more focused on what's wrong and not paying attention to what's right.
Uh-huh. When you have someone that comes to you and you notice that they're looping in story of things they want to fix or push away, or they're not fully organized in their prayer, what are some of the questions that you like to ask to welcome them into more clarity and direction of their intention?
Just that. What is your intention? Why are you here? What are you coming for? How do you want to be different? Because you're going to be different when you leave. How do you want to be different? What do you want to change? Or what do you want, change? What do you want to love more? You know, Because again, people tend to be walking around every day carrying their past in front of their face, right? They're not looking toward the future. They're looking at at the past
Mm, mm,
and allowing the past to dictate, you know, every step forward, but they're not actually moving forward. They're just carrying those, as one of my elders would say, that bag of old dry bones.
mm, mm. Thank you.
And, the question is really about how do you want to move forward? What is not serving? What habits, patterns, beliefs, stories are not serving? And um, yeah, those are the kinds of questions I ask, or the things that I point out, and helping people, prepare. And then I also include, not just for yourself, but yourself and others. But,
Mm,
with that said, if we're showing up to the ceremony because we want to heal something, we're actually having an effect on the entire web. So it's not just for the self. By doing that, we're affecting those closest to us also.
mm,
Or maybe we're showing up for somebody that's sick or suffering in any way, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And we're just showing up, to have a strong prayer for that individual or those individuals. Well, that too is going to have an effect on us.
sure.
So, the oneness of our relationships, not just with two-leggeds, but also with two-leggeds, the oneness of our relation, it's so interwoven. We have to take into deep consideration that
Thank,
awareness, that knowing, right?
thank you, brother. When we're in the middle of it, when we're in the fullness of a ceremonial experience and our resistance comes up, those patterns of how we've been getting in our way come into our face. Can you relate the same invitation and technology of prayer and intention? I like to call it leverage, like when a big rock shows up in the path and you get something bigger to move it out of the way. I find that my voice and my intention can also be leverage when something strong arises as resistance or as a challenge in the middle of the path or in the middle of a ceremony. Can you speak to that for us?
Gratitude for everything, for all of it. Because if you're going to a ceremony and, that obstacle shows up, then, be aware that this is an answer to the prayer that you came with. This is a answer to your intention. And so meet it with gratitude, meet it with joy, meet it with a sense of adventure that, oh, all of this is showing up for me. It's not to me, it's for me to evolve and grow. Thank you for showing this old habit or pattern or story or belief. Um, and wow, right now I'm really struggling in this moment, but thank you because I know this is helping me and help me, grandmothers, grandfathers, to move through this challenge in this moment. And, it's a constant prayer. The prayer doesn't, start at the beginning of the ceremony or when it's your turn to pray. Hold that prayer and that focus and that intention the duration of the ceremony. It doesn't matter if it's, 4 minutes or 4 hours or 4 days. Hold the intention, stay focused throughout the ceremony. In the moments when it's beautiful and bliss and when it's challenging and maybe turbulent, hold the focus, stay focused on the prayer. I
Mm,
do this gesture, as if I'm holding a chanupas, I'm holding that sacred pipe to my heart, up to the sky, up to the infinite possibility. And yes, especially when we're young on the path, um, or learning, it's so easy to get taken by those stories or shadows, if you will, those fears, the ego. It's so easy to be taken by it and then believe it's true and forget that this is showing up not to convince me that it's real, but to show me what I'm uh, carrying that is no longer serving.
Mm, mm. Which that pathology is just a groove in the mind that we're over identifying with.
So that is a very key word here,
Path.
identifying.
Uh-huh.
Key word there. What is ego? One of my favorite definitions is the attachment to identity. However one identifies, we identify first, with our ethnic background, our race, or maybe our ancestors. So we identify with the nation that we are born in. Oftentimes, we identify with our gender or our sex, male, female, which I mean, there's only there's more than just two sexes, and there's certainly much more than two genders. But we tend to get identified with those those moments in life that some call traumatic, um, or those moments where we feel shy or recluse or a misfit. I know that story really well. Um, um, all the ways that we tend to identify. And no matter how we identify, it is always associated with the past. It is important to be to love. I love my ancestors. I love my ethnic background. It's important to love that. I haven't always loved my ancestors or my ethnic background, but I love that. And my gender, and the list goes on. To
Uh,
love all these parts of ourself
uh-huh.
without being attached, because the moment we attach, um, then we limit our experience. I I'm so grateful to be born Hispanic, and I love being in that environment. And when I'm in that environment for a prolonged time, that misfit comes up. I don't really belong here, or Native as well, being having Native ancestry. I love that, and I love being in that environment, and I love being with those people. And I wasn't born on a res. I wasn't born raised in these ways. And at some point, there's a part of me that inevitably shows up that's I don't really belong here. Or I mean, the list goes on. I could give more and more examples, just using those examples. And when that misfit shows up, what I realize, is I can't, I don't, I can't fit in the box.
Mm.
I don't belong in the box. Misfit. I don't fit in the box. I need out of the box.
What I notice
I
in
need my freedom. I want my freedom.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love being in these places. And what matters most is my freedom,
right.
our freedom. So maybe this is giving an example of, that fine line. But, our spirit, when we all the masters throughout eternity or history, all the masters around the world, there's many universal teachings. One of them is to know yourself, know yourself, know yourself, not your identity. Know
Ah,
yourself,
yeah.
not how you identify. Know yourself.
Thank you.
And one of my favorite questions lately that I ask people is close your eyes, take some deep breaths, ground down, center, breathing deep and full. And imagine, who are you without your past?
Hmm.
Who
Yeah.
are you without your past?
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that dance and knowing that you're a breath worker and have experienced your body work and your invitation to breathe into the belly. What I notice when story arises, when content from the past that you would say that some people call trauma arises, there's a contraction because when we experience things that are heavy in life, we contract because we don't want to feel that intensity. But that memory of that experience is stored in on our pain body and our emotional body. And so when we're coming up against these patterns of their old identities in the experience of resistance, I love breath work because it brings us back to receiving into it and softening it, which is the opposite of contraction. And it
Right.
allows for the energy and the information to move, which is emotion. It's energy that wants to move. And I would love for you to speak to the wisdom of the breath because you are a breath worker. And I've seen when even the word inipi is breath in a dwelling place or breath tipi, right? Ini means breath in Lakota. Is that true?
Yeah, that's how I understand. Inipi is two words made into one. Ini is breath, tipi is lodge. Those two words made into one word is inipi. They don't translate to sweat lodge. Those words are diminishing to what it actually is about. Those two English words, sweat lodge. Um, but what you were just saying about your love for breath and how it helps people to move through those challenging moments is the same with ceremony. We are creating a container, we are creating a place, invoking spirit and our ancestors and our guides, invoking Mother Earth. When I say spirit, I'm not just talking about the unseen, as I spoke, briefly in that opening song. The sun and the moon and the morning star, the stones, the earth, the fire, the water, the wind. These are beings that we speak to, the plants and the animals. But we're also speaking to our ancestors that maybe are unseen or no longer in body. We're talking to Great Spirit, which is not a being, but every being. Mother Earth is tangible. Mother Earth, we can put our hands, our feet, it's physical, it's tangible, and she's alive and she sings. And so in ceremony, like as in breath, we come, we create that container, and in that way, we're able to face those shadows if or when they arise without being overwhelmed and feeling we need to distract or run or hide or, the habits that we tend to develop in life that, yeah, when those voices, let's use insecurity as a metaphor here, because that what insecurity, that unworthiness, it's a painful voice, and people don't want to listen to that. They don't want to hear that, and so they try to drown it out, intoxicate or the many different ways that people try to turn that voice off because it can be so painful. But in this, when we go into the ceremony and we invoke these things, or into the breath, we invoke, I'm showing up here, and we're creating a container, we're creating a safe space for us to face those shadows so that we don't be overwhelmed. And we have these tools like the breath to help us move through these things without being overwhelmed. In life, if you're not, um, um, if you don't have a daily practice, you wake up in the morning and have that daily practice, you're not including that in your daily life. Sure, these shadows can be overwhelming. And
Mm.
one of my elders would always say, whelm is beautiful and good. Overwhelm is not possible for us to be grounded. And we don't get overwhelmed just by our fears. Sometimes we get overwhelmed by our joy or our excitement.
Hey,
And
I want to share a fascinating story, brother, of that particular embodiment or lack thereof of being ungrounded, because fear lives in the belly, but trust also lives in the belly. And you came for a 4-day offering to BC many years ago with us, and there was a gentleman who was in overwhelm with a lot of people in a hot Inipi. And at one point he burst out and said, I have to leave, open the door. And the correlation I want to share is that the next day he had stayed, I did a breath translation with him, and he wasn't breathing in his belly. And so it fascinated me, that correlation between him feeling unsafe in the lodge and noticing that he wasn't fully safe in his body, and it was showing up in his breath pattern. And so what I love to do, and this is what I was referring to, that I've experienced you do, is welcoming the breath down into the gut and how regulating that is. You know, we talk about the vagus nerve and how it lives in the gut, and we actually send a message to the brain to tell the body we are safe when we breathe into the belly. I just wanted to share that story of how profound that realization was for many people that witnessed that.
yeah, beautiful. Thank you for that memory, for bringing that back up.
It really resonates when your elders say that overwhelm is ungrounded, because when we're overwhelmed, we come up into the chest. We It's a fear response.
Um, you said some interesting things to me just now. Um, this place, the abdomen, the belly, if you will, that is the center. That is our center. That is the center.
Mm,
This is the home of our spirit. This is where our spirit lives.
mm,
In our Western society, we have been conditioned to spend our time here in the thinking that the head is the most important place to be, and that it all comes from the mind, and in my perspective or way of looking at things is because we spend so much time here and we're not home. This is where our spirit is. This is where consciousness is. Consciousness isn't here. Consciousness is here in the gut. Consciousness. What is spirit? Consciousness, right? And in this place, there's the awareness that, yes, I am one with all that is. Mother Earth, yeah, I can walk on Mother Earth, but she's me. She's a part of me. I'm of her. We are. It's kind of awkward in English to say I'm connected to the earth.
mm,
There's no separation from the sun and the moon and the stars and Great Spirit and ancestors. It's all here. It's all here. It's not
Mm.
out there, right? It's in here. And we don't know that here. Intellectually, we might be able to say, I know that, but intellectual knowledge is a whole lot different from wisdom. And you can only know these things when you are here and having that relationship, because it's all about relationship, mitaquias in all our relations. And that's the core of what it is. So when I think of the belly, I think of home.
Mm.
I think of mind, ego. I think of separation, and that's where the fear comes in. Um, what else did I want to say on this subject?
I'd like to add that the what I'm hearing you say is that the belly button is the balloon knot to the universe. I I took a fascinating
A
photograph.
balloon knot? What's a balloon knot? I don't
Well,
have.
the knot when you tie a balloon, it looks like a butthole or a belly button. Uh, at one of our silly festival gatherings recently, I was teaching butthole breathing, and I said it's the balloon knot to the universe, and uh,
Aho.
what I want to relate to is
I
the
wouldn't just to Mother Earth,
yes, our
to our groundedness. Yes.
connection to the mother, the umbilical cord. I took a picture of my son's uh, placenta after he was born. I cleaned it up and took this phenomenal picture of how it looks like the tree of life when I laid it down on this beautiful plate. And so that connection with the mother and seeing how we're reconnecting with that separation that oftentimes is cut prematurely at birth if we're born in a hospital. We waited a good 45 minutes before we cut both of our children's umbilical cord, and they didn't flinch when I cut their cord because the amniotic fluid had dried up.
Mm,
But it said we receive all sorts of nutrients and hormones and enzymes after we're born. There's a final download from our mother of all of her chemistry that comes through that
mm,
portal and that channel we've been breathing through in our first 9-month retreat. And and then we receive the fullness of the roots of that mother tree, right?
mm, mm,
And oftentimes medical practice cuts the cord within a few minutes, and if we're not breathing yet, which we haven't for 9 months, we're spanked on the bum. So we have this association with our breath as being painful and abusive, maybe, when we first come in, unless we're born into more of a conscious patient and environment, which a lot of women are doing now. But yeah, fascinating the way that you speak to the universe and home being in the belly, because I find that to be foundational and principle to bringing someone into their experience of breath is that grounding safety of connection first in the belly and in the pelvis.
the center is everywhere. Everywhere we are is the center. The center is within us. It is always there. And, I've heard elders speak to, some feel that the Milky Way is the center of our galaxy, but the Milky Way is here.
Hmm, thank you.
Um, that was very beautiful what you just shared about the placenta and all that. Um, I wanna come to I want to come to this word ceremony.
Thank you.
We're talking a lot about ceremony, and in doing so, it's connotating a a place that we go to for the sacred, for s- for prayer. And You know, those three words don't exist in the old language, the old languages, indigenous languages. There's no word for ceremony. There's no word for prayer. There's no word for the sacred. And in the process of, um, you know, um, killing the Indian, but saving the man and making the language, forbidden, the missionaries, they would do their best to to interpret our words and then um, give them, you know, uh, European word or English word. Like I'm going to use the word Wakan as an example. Wakan was 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 taught back to the people to mean sacred. But when we really look at the old ways, we see that there's no philosophy for sacred. There's no concept of sacred. So there's no word for sacred. Wakan can't possibly mean sacred because it's not in the philosophy. There was no word for ceremony. We had rituals, yes. We had places where we went to clean ourselves off or to heal. But ceremony, there was no word for that. Prayer, there was no word for that. My elders would say, go talk to your ancestors. Go talk to that fire. Listen, that tree is trying to speak to you. You're not paying attention. Go tell that tree that you're available so you can hear. Communication is necessary for a relationship to happen. Healthy relationship. Communication. We have to communicate in order to be in healthy relationship, seen or unseen. But communication isn't just about speaking, right? Because we only have one mouth and two ears. We have to listen twice as much, inside and out. Listen so that our words come from that good place, respectful and loving place. No matter what the emotion is, no matter what the emotion is, we can always be loving. We may not be feeling it, but we can choose it.
Mm.
And I spoke to an elder many years ago at the Sundance. He was talking about, yeah, Wakan doesn't mean sacred. I said, well, what does it mean? He said, listen to that wind. That's Wakan. He said, look, see the veins in my arm and the blood flowing through there? That's Wakan. He said, oh, this bowl of buffalo stew, Wakan. I'm like, what does it mean?
Mhm.
He said, that which gives life or brings life or enhances life. All that is a carrier of those life-giving forces. That's what Wakan is about.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this idea of sacred, well, what isn't sacred? When in Lakota philosophy, you know, if there's no word for sacred, then we can't say that this thing over here is sacred. That means that that thing over there is not. You can't say that the love is and the beauty and the light is more sacred than the shadows that get in the way. 'Cause those are sacred too. The light is there to remind us who we are and where we come from. The shadow, the dark, is there to help us change and grow and evolve. We can't evolve without the challenge. The light doesn't bring the challenge. The light is there to say, hey, remember who you are? And the shadow is there to say, hey, you're not, living in accordance to who you are.
Mm, thank you. That's
So
a
the
perfect.
this
Go ahead.
that shadow is necessary, right? That shadow, that fear, whatever, those patterns, we forget where we come from. You know that when we come through that tunnel into this world, there's a forgetting, and especially with the conditioning of this Western society, there's a separation because we're not nurtured in the old ways to live from our center. We're not reminded in the like we were in the old ways how to breathe and how to live and who we are. The Western society has done a lot to separate us from ourself and therefore each other and our families and our ancestors and nature as a whole. Spirit, we've, people have become so separate from these things. And so that's why the cry, for remembering, for ceremony is so loud right now, is people in our gut, our spirits are crying for this remembering who we are, our humanity, love our humanity, and therefore we can love all humanity. And in that place, we realize we are all related. Mitakwi us, and we are all one.
Mm, thank you,
So
brother.
without the words ceremony, prayer, prayer is another word for communication. One of my elders, I love this teaching, and maybe you've heard it before. Maybe you've heard me share this before. You know, he said this while inside of the Inipi many years ago. He said, "This is not the ceremony. There's no such thing as ceremony. We don't have a word for ceremony. This is not the ceremony.
Our
We're
lives.
gonna, if we're gonna play into the idea of a ceremony, then it begins with our first inhale and ends with our last exhale. That's the ceremony. This is a place of reflection on life. This is a place where we come to reflect and renew so that we can approach life, the ceremony of life, renewed, and we can approach it in a new way, in a different way, with a different perspective. So we come into the ceremony to speak from our heart. If we take everything we learn from ceremony and apply it to life, it makes our life so much more simple. But before we enter into that inipi, or into that hamblecha, or into that plant ceremony, or into that breath session, before we enter into that sacred place, we come aware of why we're coming, what our intention is, what we're wanting help with, what we're wanting to change. Help is another word for change. Heal is another word for change. With that awareness, we come knowing what we're coming for, what we want to talk to them about, so that when we leave, we know how to approach life in a whole different way. That big old boulder that showed up on the trail, ah, now I know how to move that because it didn't overwhelm me like it has in the past. I can see a way around it or over it or maybe even through it.
Mm, mm,
So, this conversation we were beginning with, you know, the importance of intention for ceremony. The first thing I thought when you brought up this subject was, well, there is no ceremony, life. If we learned from everything that we do in ceremony, then we have to learn. We we don't have to, but I find it personally much more beneficial If we approach the ceremony with intention, then let's approach every day with intention. And if we live intentionally, it gives us something to focus on and makes it much more difficult for us to be swayed off path.
Mm. Mhm. Thank you. That's the key, man. And that's what I wanted you to lean into was how to harvest the insights from ceremonial experiences and how to implement them into our daily life.
Well,
I've seen what might be called a spiritual addiction of people looking for the next heightened experience to get the next download or clarity to get the next answer. And we're creatures of habit. And I've also noticed myself and others coming out of really beautiful, profound experiences or a daily ritual that gives us some clarity, and we come back into the habitual patterns of forgetting. So my question for you to share with our relatives here is some of the ways you recommend practicing daily with communication. Um,
well, you just said some key words. You said patterns, you said ritual, um, patterns of forgetting and um, uh,
Habitual.
yeah, habitual. Everything is a circle. Everything is a circle. It's all made of circles. We are made of circles. The universe is made of circles. Everything in the universe is made of circles. Every day is a ritual. Every week is a ritual. Every month, every year. It's all made of circles within circles within circles within circles. Our altars reflect that knowing. Circles within circles within circles within circles. If we want to get rid of a habit or pattern, we want to take a circle out. Well, we have to put something there to replace it.
Mm.
And ritual is a word associated with sacred or healing. Patterns tends to be a word associated maybe with bad habits, but habits, patterns, ritual, they're just circles.
And we can create good patterns, good habits, good circles, good rituals.
Or
Ah,
not so good rituals. I mean, okay, you want to keep doing that? Okay, well, keep doing it then. And and I know that if that arduous path is going to lead you one day to um duh, I don't want to do this anymore.
uh,
I mean, there's the story of the grandfather telling his grandson, never go into the forest at night. Dangerous. Don't ever go into the forest at night by yourself. That's the key thing. Never go into the forest at night by yourself. Dangerous. Don't ever do that. And the grandfather sits and watches. What's the first thing the grandchild can do? Go into the forest at night by themselves because they got to learn.
yeah.
So what does grandpa do? Just hold that prayer, hold that pipe. Okay, I pray that they come back safely. I pray that they make their way home.
Thank
That's all
you.
we can do. We can we can guide people, but they're gonna go whatever way they go. And we can't be attached to that, right? They're gonna do what they're gonna do. You can either take the smooth, gentle road or you can take the more difficult road. Both roads lead to the same place.
Our bad decisions influence our good choices.
That's a good way to say it. Or
Is that the
it's a way to say it. I don't know if it's good or bad. It's
Yeah, yeah,
I do my best to stay away from those words, good and bad, you know.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I've made some poor choices,
Yeah.
uh, and they've influenced my good choices because eventually symptoms in the body and circumstances in our life show us like or allow us to question, do I want to keep living like this or feeling like this?
I used to say I used to say, um, yeah, I'm a prime example of what not to do.
Yeah, thank you.
And in that awareness, you know, is the awareness, okay, I'm the prime example of not that I'm a prime example, but if I've been the example of what not to do, then I mean, at this stage in my life, I feel like I I I am an influence of what to do instead of what not to do.
Mhm. I'd love for you to touch on the Hayoka medicine a little bit, without too much context or story, because I've experienced it quite a bit with you. Not just in your humor, but the way the ceremonial experiences are stirred up in an intentional way. So the archetype of the clown, um,
Trickster,
yeah,
that's a better word than clown,
the
trickster.
the trickster. And clown is one of the archetypes in the tarot, right? So it's in the Western, mind and traditions, the trickster is the clown. But the importance of chaos and stirring things up to bring order is the medicine and wisdom that I've received from you. If there's
Well,
anything,
I already did speak on that. I
yeah.
already did speak on that. We need the shadow to create change. The light is there to remind us who we are. The shadow is there to help us grow. We can't grow without it.
I I really have just been appreciating more silliness in my life,
Oh
and
yeah. Oh, me too. For sure.
and yeah, I notice how things can get a little too serious. Like I just breathed a couple hundred people at a festival last weekend, and I was wearing some disco festival glasses the whole time, and some people shared with me how much they appreciated that because I was actually invited by a woman beforehand, like, don't take those glasses off when you present the breath today. Um, and yeah, I want to share that beauty of you and your laughter and joy, but also the wisdom behind bringing in what in your traditions you call a hayoka. Of sometimes when things are going really well and people are feeling really good, some hayoka medicine comes in and stirs things up a little bit. So yeah, you just spoke to it. I just wanted to, I guess, bring that in and remind our relatives to be silly when it's appropriate.
But Trickster isn't about silliness. It isn't just it's not just about that. It's certainly not just about laughter. The Trickster is a form of medicine. It's a form of the Heyoka's a medicine person, medicine man, medicine woman. It's just a form of medicine. And I know a lot of natives that they don't want anything to do with that Heyoka medicine. They're afraid of that Heyoka medicine. Um, it's a arduous path. It's not an easy path, and it's a very challenging path. Two of my teachers, two of my elders have been Heyokas, and um, yeah, um, it's not fun in games. Um,
Mm,
and and that's the misconception in I feel with a lot of non-native people that they think it's about laughter and clown and joking and making people laugh, but oftentimes the trickster, the heyoka, is moving to to through those hard knocks get us to laugh at ourselves.
Mm,
Um, but um, sometimes it takes a little while to get there because, another thing that the Heyoka is really good at doing is seeing the buttons, identifying those triggers, and pushing those buttons because you can't be free if you're walking around with a bunch of triggers.
mm, mm. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
that's the road to mastery, right? Whatever that is, whatever mastery is. But that's the road to freedom is a better way to say that.
Mm,
I
mm,
mean, I feel that, if we're gonna speak about mastery, if we're gonna speak about, the mm, archetype of, you know, um, let's say the medicine person or the shaman or the guru or the sage or the wizard. Um, you know, uh, I use those words, in reference to Mass Christ or Buddha or whatever. Um, I use those words in reference to the archetype of, mastery. And yet, you know, I've met a few people that I see in that light of having, achieved a certain level of mastery. And yet, as I have met those ones and I ask about that, they all say, oh no, a master will never say they're a master because we know that there's so much more to do, so much more to learn. It's never ending. But on that path, um, um, we can't we can't have those triggers. We can't we have to face those holes within ourself where we are not loving ourself or needing someone else to do it for us. I need you to love me so that I feel whole. I need you to approve me, accept me, adore me so that I can feel whole. But if I'm needing that from you, I'll never feel whole.
thank you. This is where our closest relations are our best button pushers. We help each other evolve.
I just got chills with that. Yes.
Yeah.
I was, there was somebody recently that was saying, be kind, smile and be kind, with strangers and, to the people. And I was like, being kind and smiling to strangers is easy. That's not the path to mastery. It's just the beginning, maybe. Maybe it's the beginning path. But
And
yeah,
we
be
love it.
kind and gentle and loving and smile at everyone. But strangers is if you believe in such a thing, because if you believe that they're strangers, then you must believe that we're not all related. But if you know that we're all related, then you know that there's no such thing as a stranger. We're all one. But especially as you just said, with our families, those that are closest to us are the best.
Uh, uh,
Can we smile and be gentle and kind when when someone is attempting to push our button?
and to be honest, when our boundaries are needed and lean more into truth with one another, when we see things, one of the things I love about living in village, because we do live in village now, we have a tensional community here of about 30 people, as you've experienced. And one of the things is that your friends can see some of those blind spots that you're not seeing. And when we communicate and we share with one another what those things are, we get to see through the other people's eyes. And sometimes we get to see the things that we're not seeing.
You know, um, boundaries is another thing and word that I've omitted from my. I don't want anything to do with boundaries.
Mm,
Nothing to do with it. respect want
Mm,
everything to do with that. Everything to do with that. But um,
thank you.
I see I see so many people. I mean, talk about non-attachment. So many people get so attached to their boundaries, and then there's no room for the spirit to flow, for the heart to flow.
Mm,
So I years ago I said, I'm done with healthy boundaries. Let's just dance with respect for one another.
oh, Pila, thank you. I love that.
Hmm. And I've asked one of my elders, and I want to ask more. Hey, is there a word for that? Boundaries? I mean, I know we didn't have fences around our villages or our teepees. I know we didn't even have locks on the doors. Um, was there a word for boundaries? Is there a concept? And and one elder that I'm recalling in this moment that I asked that question was like, uh, they couldn't think of a word for boundaries. They couldn't think of a concept. But
Mm,
respect is one of our highest values.
thank you. This is what we're doing our best to achieve with our children, you know. Yeah, it's often called boundaries, but ultimately it's about respect. Thank you.
Ultimately, it's about respect.
Thank you. Well, brother, we're a little ways over an hour, but there's one piece I'd love to speak to, for you to speak to, and it's about this Hopi prophecy of you being a wolf, and that
The
we're
Hopi
better
prophecy that I'm a wolf.
we're better together. The and the
I
prophecy
didn't
being
know that prophecy.
how much wolves love to love, and the prophecy being that the time of the lone wolf is over.
That the time of the lone wolf, is that what you said?
Yes,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
the time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your vocabulary. Uh,
Aho.
we are the ones we have been waiting for.
Yep.
Uh, time to do everything in sacred manner and in celebration. The importance of togetherness is what I'd love for you to speak to because I find that we get more work done when we're together. Like
Absolutely.
the difference between doing a one-on-one with someone and then having people come together and that shared intent. Jesus said, when two or more of you come together, I'm there, like there's a potency when we come together. And so I want to close with the essence of that community, unity, togetherness right now that
Tribe.
welcoming people into.
What is the question?
This the importance of being together.
But
Can you
that's a
speak to it?
statement. That's not a question.
Oh, thank you. Can you share from your experience the difference between the potency of working with someone and doing a bodywork session as opposed to bringing them into one of the
Ah,
ceremonies of what happens when we come together right now? The spirit is close right now. The veils are thin. And when we come together, there's a discernment that happens where people start to listen more. We're paying more attention. These are the qualities that I'm seeing that things are enhanced when we're celebrating together, when we're praying together, singing together, dancing together.
that one-on-one work is necessary to build a foundation, to build our inner fortitude. That one-on-one work there's a certain medicine that we get when we're with somebody one-on-one
Mhm.
that we can't get in the circle. There's a certain medicine that we get in the circle that we can't get in the one-on-one medicine work. My journey I held those two things of equal value. I sat with my elders one on one consistently, and I went to ceremony consistently. And I didn't see one more important than the other. I saw them of equal value in order for me to learn and grow, in order for me to get the transmissions, not just in the ceremony, but just in this simple dialogue or in receiving the healing work, which I practice now because I practice what I received. I received what I received, and now I'm able to share that. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, if that's the answer to your question. I mean, what I'm hearing in your question is, or your statements, is the realization how we get so much more done together. Yes, but my elder would say, when the elders say, we're only as strong as our weakest link. And so we have to move to empower each individual. We have to move to empower the people, which is the matriarchal, I feel is the foundation of a matriarchal society, to empower every individual so that the whole of the people is strong.
Mm.
And it's the opposite in the patriarchal. They're not moving to empower each individual, they're moving to hold the power and say, you have to come here in order to see it. We're not really going to give it to you.
So true. Thank you, brother. It really brings up the importance of our relationship with individuals.
It doesn't make sense to me, this whole, um, you know, patriarchal. I'm using the word patriarchal, but another Western perspective of, you know, um, I mean, in this country, uh, the U.S., it doesn't move, and it's not just this country. I'm just using that as a metaphor. It doesn't move to nurture and feed and empower and liberate every person. And if you're not doing that, then you have a weak nation. When you are doing that, as indigenous peoples did, and some still do, when you are moving to nurture and feed and clothe and empower and free every individual, that nation is strong.
Mm. Mm. Yes, brother. I believe we're coming out of a time of
Oh, I
patriarchy.
don't believe it. I don't
And
believe it.
yeah, I know you don't like the word belief, but we're feeling it.
It's not a matter of whether I like it or not. That doesn't matter whether I like it. Who cares if I like it or not? I don't play into it. I have no belief. I see clearly that is the direction we are going,
Mm,
for sure.
thank you. Mm. Love for you to leave us if our audience that hasn't listened to this whole conversation, maybe in parts, can leave with the most important thing. What do you feel is the most important thing?
Enjoy every moment. Love it all. Embrace it all. It's a grand adventure, this life. We come here to live. Don't make the small things so big. Enjoy it all. Home at Takuyasin.
Uh, Kapila. Thank you. You can find Wolf through social media, Blue. Wolf Puma.
at me.com.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.